You are an effect of God. That's what it means to say you were created in the image of God. Then we are conduits through which God's thoughts are extended out into the world, making ourselves empty. The Course in Miracles is very Eastern in feel, because the ego is you got to fill yourself up with information, you got to fill yourself up with the images of what you want, you got to fill yourself up with strategy, and then you got to go make it happen. The Course in Miracles is very Eastern. It's about emptying ourselves so that we can be fully available in the moment. And the reason you want to be still and know, as the Bible says, be still and know, is in order to practice what the Course in Miracles calls the holy instant, where you are doing nothing. You are simply in a state of such complete being that on a level of thought as well as the level of behavior, miracles occur, miracles occur, miracles occur. The present is already programmed because it is an expression of the mind of God. So one of two things is always true. Either everything that would contribute to your happiness is already here and you're not seeing it. How many times have we had that? And also, it's that the universe is programmed so that either everything that could make you happy is already here or is on its way. Because the universe, as an expression of the mind of God, is already perfect. It is self-organizing and it is self-correcting. Everything that could make you happy is already here or is on its way. Because the universe, as an expression of the mind of God, is already perfect. It is self-organizing and it is self-correcting. And once you know that even though on a material plane what you give away you no longer have, on a spiritual plane you only get to keep what you give, then you become, as the Course in Miracles says, generous out of self-interest. And then your mental habit patterns fall in line that way, and you don't even make it happen. You just start seeing, oh my goodness, that makes me so happy. It just happened. Oh my goodness, that is so fantastic. It just happened. Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. It just happened. Why? Because the universe loves you so much that everything that could possibly contribute to your happiness is already programmed. God is love. Even though on a material plane, what you give away you no longer have, on a spiritual plane, you only get to keep what you give. You won't necessarily get the short-term cash, but you'll get a righteous flow of abundance in your life. You'll get the deep stuff, the real stuff, the stuff that has to do with your life just working. But when it happens that way, you will be very clear. You didn't make this happen. He did.
A viewer named Kyle wrote in as follows, quote, I read Return to Love a long time ago. That's one of the books written by the same woman, Marianne Williamson. When I was in a bad spot in my life, and for a long time, I was tormented and thought that it must have been true until I started studying philosophy. And I reply, I think that's the saddest part of all, that these religions, including new religions, really prey on human weakness. Your sorrow after your divorce, after your grandfather died, that's the opening they're looking for. 2 points, really briefly. Marianne Williamson ran for Congress before and lost. She's running for President of the United States right now, and she's going to lose. But even if she loses, she wins. Why? Because we have a cycle going on here. And this cycle is one of the reasons why the separation of church and state is a very important principle in modern politics, whether you're talking about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or some New Age religion that doesn't even have a name yet. She has supported her bid for president with her notoriety and her book sales as a religious leader. And then her bid for president, her election campaign, itself becomes a platform to sell more books, to increase her notoriety and influence as a religious leader. She's going to reach more people with this money-making message, with this ultimately flawed and futile and false message of hope. It's hope, but it's false hope. People can say it's positive and uplifting, but it's positive and uplifting and built on a lie. The same doctrines she's teaching, at least hypothetically, they could be preached by a Christian minister. They could be preached by a Muslim imam, particularly a Sufi Muslim, could be. Okay? In this case, it's coming from her. She still identifies as Jewish, interestingly, even though the religion she's a member of has a whole lot to do with Jesus with a capital J, be that as it may. Okay? That cycle of the religious establishment using democratic elections as a platform to promote their religious career and vice versa in this vicious ongoing cycle, there's a reason why so many countries have settled on this broad notion of separation of church and state. You know, it's easy to preach veganism, and it's very hard to preach sobriety and secularism, by contrast. I'm aware of how easy it is to tell people, hey, stop eating meat, stop eating cheese. It's going to improve your health. It's going to improve the world's ecology. It's going to help some animals, at least hypothetically. It's very easy to prove. It's a win-win. Right? It's very easy for me to say to you on an individual level, person to person, man to man, if you adopt this diet, veganism, it's going to make your life better. If you quit drinking alcohol, especially in, say, Canada, Scotland, England, I can tell you a lot of ways in which your life is going to get dramatically worse if you quit drinking alcohol. There are a lot of people, even their relationships at the office, even their relationships with their boss and coworkers will get dramatically worse if they quit drinking alcohol. British culture is huge on that. The annual Christmas party for the employees and periodic trips to the pub where drinking alcohol together is a huge part. I can tell you ways in which quitting alcohol is going to make your life worse. But you should do it because it's the right thing to do. Whether you're looking at getting into religion or getting out of religion, ultimately the question is just about your personal integrity. Whether or not you're the sort of person who's going to stand up and say there's a difference between true and false, right and wrong, and it's my integrity on the line. It's my integrity that's being tested here, even if there are no other consequences for anyone else, or even if I would benefit from allowing my integrity to be violated, allowing my sense of the truth to be a little bit pliant, to bend with the circumstance, allowing my sense of right and wrong to be compromised. I was in a really tough situation after I split up with my wife. I dumped her, for the record. She didn't dump me, but I was basically abandoned in this small town on the east coast of Taiwan. I didn't speak Chinese. Nobody there spoke English, except a Christian missionary, a white American Christian missionary, an attractive female Christian missionary. And you know what? She was a lot more desperate for my company than I was for hers. She found herself in a very strange situation. Here she is, a white American girl in a predominantly Buddhist and Taoist town, small town in eastern Taiwan. She finds herself having to explain Christianity to people who have a background in Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and she meets me. I'm almost the only person in the whole city who speaks English. There were a couple other people, of course. And I'm an expert in Buddhism. I know a lot about Taoism. I know a lot about Hinduism. I know a lot about all these things, but specifically my expertise in Buddhism. I think I probably knew more about Christianity, about the New Testament, about the Christian Bible. I think I knew more than she did about Christianity too. But, you know, she had some level of Bible college education. But you can imagine, for me as an atheist, what I read, I had a certain kind of detached insight into the historicity of the text and so on. So wow, it was pretty interesting for her to meet me. And you know what? I could tell from the first time I met her, She was very attracted to me. I was attracted to her too. Hypothetical fork in the road in my life. I could have seduced her. I could have decided to just let my sense of true and false be a little bit pliant. My sense of right and wrong be a little bit pliant. And I could have married her. I could have married into her church. My father would have supported it. My father would have said to me, well, you know, as long as you're doing it for a beautiful woman. He would have said, well, I did a lot of crazy things in my life for beautiful women. It's all right. And whether cynically or sincerely, let's just face a hypothetical fact that I could have had a much better life. Basically, I could have had a better life converting to any mainstream American religion, including access to education, career, but above all else, community. Going to a picnic with 50 other people who know your name. You know, being involved in humanitarian work, something I'm still passionate about. I've been passionate about all my life and can't really act on because I'm an isolated atheist and so on, right? Would have had all kinds of opportunities to make the world a better place through that religion. And yeah, in these bizarre circumstances of being really emotionally damaged, unable to see my daughter after just splitting up with my ex-wife, wow, sure, having someone who loves me, someone who cares about me, even if they're on some crazy religious mission, I can see the advantages. But you know what? I chose to be a person of integrity. I don't care if it's wrong or if it's right, because most fundamentally, what I'm never going to give up is my ability and my responsibility to distinguish wrong and right for myself. And when you join a religion, when you join any religion whatsoever that's based on belief, that is the most fundamental thing that you give up. And then you end up spending the rest of your life making excuses for the crummy founder of that religion, whether you regard that as Muhammad or Moses. You spend the rest of your life making excuses for their opinions about what's wrong and what's not right. And you give up the process of making those decisions for yourself and dealing with the consequences yourself. It's easy to preach veganism here on YouTube. It's hard to preach having a life of personal integrity, of commitment to doing what's right, to being good, to being honest, to distinguishing truth from fiction, day after day after day, when there's no reward and there may be very real consequences that you face. Do it. Just because it's the right thing to do.